Elizabeth from the School to Work Alliance program, and today I'm joined by Maggie Sims with the Rocky Mountain ADA program. And I have a lot of questions for you today because I'm not sure you still have an office in our local area. But let's start with having you talk about what the ADA is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me here. The ADA stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act, and our center is one of 10 centers across the country that provides information on the ADA. And many people don't realize how broad of a law that this is. And so we work with all groups that might have rights or responsibilities under the law, which is almost everybody and almost every organization. So again, we work with all groups and all people to help them understand what the law is. So we're not advocates and we're not attorneys, so we don't give legal advice, um, which is to our benefit, I think, and the public's benefit, because again, we work for everybody, businesses, employers, people with disabilities, families with disabilities, schools, governments. And so we're kind of there for everybody. We just want people to understand what the law says, what the law might not say, and some ways to make sure your rights are protected, from both sides of the rights and responsibilities.
Okay, that's wonderful. I really think you must have a lot of information under your belts because there's so many times that I think I'm not sure when somebody asks me a question, and it's wonderful to be able to send them your way.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Our favorite and number one answer to any question is it depends, because it really does. The ADA is what I like to call flexible.
Mhm.
Some call it vague,
Right.
but part of the reason is that there is no one black and white answer for all situations. And so it's very important that people do realize that the ADA is not a one and done. It's um, we've got to take this case by case on basis, and particularly when we're talking about education and employment. So I totally understand. I I've been with the center now for 33 years, and I still learn something new every day.
Oh, I'm sure that you must. And I think that when you stated that there's not really any legal protection or guidance that you give, that's very understandable because every case is so different.
Yes, yes. You
Okay,
have to,
let's.
and part of what we do is if somebody is having an issue with their rights, we would suggest who they can contact to follow through on that, and it's usually going to be either a federal entity or a private attorney. Again, because we are neutral, as much as you can be.
Oh yeah. I'm noticing on your screen, my goodness, you have six different regions.
Hmm.
Is that new? I think I've known that for a while that you were throughout the western
Hmm.
side of the United States.
Yeah, as I mentioned, there are 10 ADA centers across the country, and each one is a regional center. So we, as the Rocky Mountain ADA Center, we serve the state of Colorado, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming. And so, the ADA is a federal law, and the federal
Yes.
law itself will be the same in all states. There can be some changes uh, on the state level, but for the most part, it's going to be the same in all states. So, yeah, we have always worked with all these six states, and all of the other centers also are regional, so they have a number of states that they work with as well.
Okay. Last I knew, you did have an actual building in Colorado Springs. Is that still the case? Can people come to you and grab some information, ask some questions?
Great question. Um, For 30 something years, we did have a physical place to meet. We are no longer with the company that originally managed our grant. We are now with the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley. And
Yes.
so they hold our grant, they manage our grant, but the staff does now work remotely. The majority of us are in the Colorado Springs area. We have someone in Castle Rock. But again, we do travel. That's part of our mission and work in our 6 state area. So we are used to traveling. And for the most part, we can provide information, materials, either on the phone, or we can email it, or we can mail it out. And we can certainly, if somebody wanted to meet with us, we can, there's some wonderful places here in Colorado Springs that we can arrange to get together. So yeah, that's our status right now.
Okay. Okay. I would imagine it can all be done in so many different ways anymore that that's just par for the course, really.
When, we saw during COVID, I think,
Hmm.
that we can adapt and we can do things so many different ways. And it's just made it, I think, easier on all of us. And to me, the good thing about the what COVID showed us too is that, people with disabilities, some like to go into the office, some can go into the office, some may be able to work from home. And we can see that that's not necessarily a negative. That can be a very positive for the employer as well as the employee. So I'd like to throw that out. I think we learned that uh, technology has made it possible for so many people to work that maybe couldn't have in the past.
I completely agree. And I think that's important so that everybody can do a job and feel good about that. I'd like to hear something about the trainings that you offer. And do you do those virtually? Do you do those in person? What does that look like?
Yes, thank you for asking. We have a variety, and so let me start with what we have online. We have a number of modules, and people can take those at their own pace. They can stop them, come back. Um, i- i- and these are all free, no
Oh,
cost for those. Yeah, we do have training that we can come and do. And sometimes there are charges for those when we come on site, that we put together a particular training for a particular group or subject. Then we do what we call outreach, and we can come on site, we can do it virtually, where we provide information. And it's usually geared towards what the facility use needs. Gosh, we teach or train on so many aspects of the ADA. So we talk about physical accessibility, we talk about effective communication. We do something we call disability etiquette, which is a form of barrier removal by attitude, And so, information technology, the state of Colorado has now passed that state and local governments must make their websites and
accessible.
uh, not just the websites, but their information accessible electronically. And so we're beginning to get a lot of calls on those, and we can help up to a point, but we do have some great training on that as well. So I recommend, if anyone's interested in that, go to our website, which is rockymountainada.org, and you'll see a link there to find out what we do have. Just wonderful, lots of good stuff. But we do, again, the on-site training, those can be a charge. It always depends. So
Sure.
if someone's interested, again, they could go to our website and get more information.
Okay. That sounds good. So that answers the question about geographical. You can be everywhere, it sounds like.
We
And
try.
there's no specific age group because you
Yeah,
cater to anybody,
that's
everyone
right. That's right.
who has questions, whether with a disability or not.
That's right. That's right. So, again, which is a positive, I think, for the services we provide because you might be a parent of a person with a disability and you have questions. You might be a person with a disability about, and you have employment questions. And your employer may also give us a call because they have the same questions, but it's always confidential. And we would never say, oh, yeah, I just talked to your employer or your employer. It's confidential. So we're working with everybody to try and help them understand it. So, yeah. And the ADA covers anyone with a disability. So there is no age minimum or maximum.
Okay, that's wonderful. I'm thinking 30 years, you've probably had a lot of people pass through your doors and now through email, but do you have an interesting story, success story maybe you can share of something that's happened with a client or, how ADA, excuse me, has
Mhm.
served them?
Gosh, that's a great question. And I know I could point to a lot. Um, One in particular that first comes to my mind, I guess, is we did work with an individual who had a disability, and they had physical disability as well as communication disabilities, and they had been working with as a volunteer with on a committee. And there was a lot of aspects to something like that. It's not an employee, so we have to figure out how does this apply in this situation. And there was a lot of conversation going back and forth. And long story short, it ended up that the committee eventually they wanted to just they wanted to try and get a I'm not saying that right. Not get around it, but they were trying to find the easiest way to do it, which was
Yes.
not the most accessible way to do it. But
Okay.
eventually, after our customer had gotten information from us and talked to us and understood what her rights were, she was able to go back to the group and to the committee, and they ended up making a complete change. They moved the meeting place where they had been, and she was just so excited because she was able to participate like she wanted to. And of
Yeah.
course, that's the whole point of the ADA.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. And that will help families to know how they can help their children and young
Yes,
adults to know that they can reach out and just have their questions answered.
yes, yeah.
Is there anything specific you want to add as far as services that I missed today?
Um, you're welcome. We provide services either through the phone. We have an 800 number.
Okay.
We also have a website, as I mentioned, and people can put questions through that as well. It will come to us. Of course, email. Each one of our staff takes email questions as well. We have a video phone, and so individuals with either speech impairments or who are deaf, hard of hearing can talk with one of our staff is a sign language user. And so we try to be all things to all people. And if we can't answer it, I do want to say this too. We don't always have the answer.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons for that can be because it may not be an ADA issue. We get a lot of questions about housing issues, which are
Yes.
significant and so important, but it's not an ADA law. It's under another law, the Fair Housing Act. So part of the services that we do provide is to have referrals. And so we always try to at least refer our caller to another agency that should be able to answer questions or at least help them. So again, if we can't answer a question, we try our best to at least have some type of a referral for all of our callers.
I appreciate that because I think a lot of people don't know exactly what you can do and you can't, and it's okay
Mhm.
to just ask.
That's right. And the interesting thing too is after all these years, I mean, the ADA will be 35 years old in July,
Wow.
and you think, oh gosh, the ADA should be completely implemented. Everything is accessible. Everybody, all employers, schools know about what the ADA says. And No, that's not the case. It takes a long time for things to really become compliant, and um, which is why we're still around. If it was all taken care of, you wouldn't need the centers. But at this point, no question is an ignorant question. The basic questions are still being raised and are still very important.
That's good. That's good to hear. I sure appreciate you taking your time to come on a Zoom call and give us this information so we can share with all of our friends and families all over Colorado Springs and out east.
Absolutely. Thank
Um,
you so much for thinking of us and having us here today.
oh, absolutely. And just so you know, we will be adding contact information for the ADA and for you
Great.
as well after this slide is done on the video. We'll make sure that they know how they can contact you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I just hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay warm out there. It's not
You
lovely
too.
in Colorado.
I'm staying in, so
Oh, yes. Yes. Me too, as much as possible. Well, thank you again, Maggie. It's been
thank you
nice
so
to
much.
talk with you. Okay.
Take care.
Mhm. Hello, I'm Elizabeth Connell from the School to Work Alliance program. And today I have with me Kyle Hammond, who is from Safe in Home. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for coming.
Of course. I'm excited to teach everyone a little bit about our program and our services.
Oh, I'm excited as well because I already love what I've seen. So please go ahead and share what Safe in Home is and how it benefits people with IDD or intellectual development disabilities.
Yeah, of course. So, Safe and Home is a service provider specializing in remote supports and assistive technologies, and we are really here to help adults live more independently. Since we are a remote provider, we can support individuals across the state of Colorado. We are in, excuse me, in several other states as well. And we're really able to target some of those areas where there's limited direct care resources. And our goal is always going to be empowering independence while ensuring safety and peace of mind for the individuals, as well as their families and support systems.
That is fantastic. I'm so excited that you have this program available for young people and older, of course. Um, so, how does someone get started in this program? And tell me about insurance or anything that they need to get started.
Absolutely. So we are billable to the adult Medicaid waivers. So
Okay.
we are on the EBD, the elderly, blind, and disabled, the BI or brain injury, SLS or supported living services, CMHS or community mental health services, and then CIH, community integrative health waivers. We also do accept private pay, but primarily we are fully funded through the adult waiver program. And then to get started with our services, someone can either reach out to me or they can go to our website, Safe and Home, and they can fill out an inquiry and someone will be in touch with them.
That sounds great. Easy enough, right?
He's very easy. So after we receive those initial referrals, we're able to complete an initial consultation with the member. We'll learn all about them. We want to make sure our service plans are individualized, tailored. So after we create that proposal, we will send that over to the case manager for funding approval. And then as soon as that funding approval is received, we can go out to the home, we can do installation, we can do training on how to use any of our technology, and then we also service that at any point if there's ever a hiccup going on.
Wow. Um, Share with me the age group that you work with. Where does it start and can it go on indefinitely?
Absolutely. So we are primarily working with adults on the Medicaid waivers, like I said, and to be eligible for those adult waivers, an individual does have to be 18. We do work with the entire lifespan with both the IDD population as well as the aging population. Now, the barrier to supporting children is less about our services and more about the funding resources. At this time, remote supports are not approved on any of the children waivers in Colorado. We could work with a member, their family, to see if there is a private pay situation, or sometimes case management agencies have specialized grants or things like that. So, really, our barrier to supporting children at this time comes more to the waivers and less about the resource we offer.
Okay. All right. Well, that's awesome because really, if we're talking about somebody being independent in their home, I hope they're a little bit older.
Exactly. So the
Yeah.
times that it could be beneficial to work with someone that is under 18 is if we have that transition conversation. If somebody has a goal to move out independently, what we also can do is set up remote supports in the family home to really build those independent skills. And then we're able to transition our resources, our program when someone moves out on their own. At that point, they've already become used to having a somewhat reliance on remote supports. So that's one of the times that I could see it being beneficial, maybe working with someone as that kind of that senior year of high school, that transition program age, as we're really starting to build those independent living skills.
That's great. And that's who we're reaching out to in this
Perfect.
video. Yeah, yeah. A question just came to me. What who would not be eligible? I mean, name maybe a situation where someone came to you and they wanted to get services set up and you thought, this is not appropriate for you, or we can't do that.
Absolutely. So I am a firm believer that remote supports is an amazing service that is really here to serve a population that sometimes slips between the cracks. There's people that really do not want 24-hour care facilities, a host home environment, but I am never going to argue that remote supports is going to completely eliminate that caregiving model. We are not here to replace in-home caregiving. We are not here to replace hands-on direct care. A lot of times we're here to supplement it or work with people that really feel like they don't want that 24-hour intrusive level of care. With that being said, I think that there's people that I think would benefit from that to be the most successful. And really, the individual we're trying to support are people that do want a little more independence. That would, yeah. So does that make sense?
Oh, it does. It does. Absolutely. Because building that and starting with somebody who's younger, you want them to be comfortable with the process. So I think that's great that you have that transitional maybe time that you can work together while they're still in the home before they leave.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And recognizing that there are limitations as we are remote staff. We only can do a certain level of crisis intervention, emergency management, where then we do need to call 911 emergency services, or maybe even an on-call number of a residential agency. So I think it's important to be honest and upfront about the limitations of a remote support staff and recognize that it is incredible for the people that are interested, that want that less intrusive support, but recognizing that there are people that would benefit from in-person staffing.
In person. Yep, absolutely. And I tend to agree with that. Um, so the eligibility requirements, what is there an assessment? I think you said you would go out to their home and meet with them and make a determination.
So as far as eligibility, that would occur more on the case management agency side to determine someone eligible for the Medicaid waiver. We would go in and have that consultation with the family, and we would have an honest conversation if we felt like it was a good fit. I don't conduct assessments with people. It's really more to get to know them, talk about what services we offer, and make sure their goals align with a resource we can provide. From there, our plans are so individualized and tailored. I think it'd be very rare that we would turn somebody away that was interested in our services, but maybe what we could do is work hand in hand with another program and another resource.
Oh, I like that.
Got to
Well,
collaborate with our community members.
yeah. Oh, most definitely. And on the flip side, I'm going to throw something else out at you. I got goosebumps when I watched the video testimonials that were on your website. And I
Yes.
would encourage everyone to do that. And it's just amazing how having somebody there when somebody's anxious or needs that reassurance that you can provide that. So I'm hoping you have a success story that just kind of comes to mind that you could say, this person really needed us. Tell me, what do you know?
Absolutely. And I would encourage anyone to watch those videos. I think remote supports is a new-ish concept in our field.
Mhm.
Social work, we are really hands-on care. We are caregivers. We are helpers. And I think trying to think in a way that's creative and look at maybe a little more, a way to use resources a little more efficiently. I think people are scared that technology might come in and replace human interaction. And I think a lot of what our videos show is remote support still provides that face-to-face human interaction. We have our conversations over a video tablet, so you really still feel like you're having a personalized conversation. You can get to know somebody. You can talk about your good day. You can talk about a challenging day. So the videos, I think, do a good job demonstrating that because this is a new concept, especially in our state. As far as a success story, there is a gentleman that we have been working with that is kind of right along the lines of what I talked about before. He has been living with his mom for about 30 years. Mom is aging. He and mom are starting to have conversation about what life looks like when he's unable to live with her and she's unable to be a primary support. He has been adamant that he does not want to live in a group home setting. He does not want to live in a host home setting, and he really wants to maintain that independence. Currently, he's able to live in kind of a mother-in-law style suite on the family property. And so he already feels like he has an apartment to himself. With that being said, mom would argue that she is offering a high level of support, reminders, etc., to really help him get through his day. So what remote supports is doing is we are integrating in with the family home. We've offered him our tablet for those two-way video conversations. We have a medication box in the home. So he is starting to rely on remote supports and the reminders using the assistive technologies to really get through his day to day. And what we're really encouraging mom to do is step out of that caregiving role and return to just being mom and letting remote support staff really fill in some of the roles she was doing. Well, I'm excited to say that a couple months ago, this gentleman was able to move into his own apartment. He is thriving. We are still involved with him. We moved the same service plan out of the family home into his own apartment. We helped integrate all of our technologies into his new space. And because he had the chance to get to know us, get used to using us while he was still at home, mom was able to watch that simultaneously. So mom has the peace of mind that someone is really there caring for her son. So she's able to lower some of her anxiety. And then the gentleman himself is really able to utilize those independent skills that he learned over the last few months of our services. So it's been fun to watch him grow, achieve one of his goals, which is to have that independent setting.
That's so important that young people have a choice in how they want to have their life look and help design that, and that there's that gradual transition. I am
Absolutely.
just loving this. I hope you get flooded with calls
What we
from
always like
people.
to say is remote supports, we're there when people need us and we're not when they don't. And with an
Oh,
in-person staff member, they might be scheduled to come over at noon on Wednesday. Well, what if you don't need help at noon on Wednesday, but you needed help at 10 a.m. on Thursday? Well, a lot of the times, realistically, the staffing pattern of a direct care staff member might not be able to accommodate that. But because remote supports is always living and breathing in the background, we can be available whenever people need us. And then put us aside if you're having a good day, don't call. We don't have to interact every day. We really can be there whenever someone needs us.
Oh my gosh, this is fabulous. I can't wait for people to watch this video and learn that this is available because there's so many young people that want to move out of the home eventually and parents that are so anxious about that. And this
Absolutely.
sounds like a great alternative.
And it's fun to be able to leverage technologies and think about the different solutions. We have over 100 different technology devices. This video is not meant for me to sit and list off all of them, but
Yeah.
really to paint a picture, if there is a concern, everything from so we can detect a seizure using a wearable wristband, and that
Huh.
could then notify mom. Those are some of the more complex technologies that we can use. But at our core, it really is just a face-to-face conversation like you and I are having now. It's still just human interaction back and forth. And I think a lot of times people get intimidated about the idea of a bunch of complex technologies, but really I consider them more passive technologies. They're in the background. The member doesn't necessarily have to interact with them. They're more supporting quietly and then providing data and reports to our team that we can then share with the family. And some of those reports can also help dictate the way that the service plan is written. So I don't want people to be intimidated by the fact of a smart.
Yep, that human interaction is so important in our days. So
Absolutely. And we
very happy
never
to
want
see
to,
that.
we're not going to replace that with a cell phone or a computer screen. We want to leverage that technology to help us stay connected.
Exactly. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add today that we haven't maybe gone over?
I don't think so. I think that that is mainly what I have for you guys. So we're excited in general. Remote supports, like I said, is new to our state. It really became an approved Medicaid service middle of last year. There was some red tape that we had to jump through over the last couple of years, but it's been exciting to get the word out about remote supports. And I think people are going to be hearing more and more about it as more and more service providers that are able to provide this resource are coming around the state.
That triggered one more question from me.
Absolutely.
For families that are watching and have extended family in other places, what other states are you currently serving?
Ooh, you put me on the spot. We are in
Oops.
13 states.
Okay.
I know on the western side of the country, we are in Oklahoma and Washington, and then we do have a strong presence on the East Coast. So Colorado, if I remember right, was our 13th state that we entered.
Okay.
There is a map on Safe and Home's website that you can interact with, and if you click on the individual state, you can actually be directed to the person in my role. So we're in 13 states. I live locally, so I am the local support here in Colorado. So there's a handful more people in my role throughout the country.
That works. Thank you. Knowing there's an interactive map where they can find that, because if they're interested, boy, I'd hate to not have that information available for them.
Absolutely. We're also one team. If someone reaches out to me, I can help direct them. We're also in 13 states today, but we are actively growing and getting into some others. So by the time someone watches this video, that 13 number might not even be accurate any longer.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Well,
So.
thank you so much for taking the time to share all this wonderful information.
Hi, my name is Tamara Clark with the School to Work Alliance program here at Pikes Peak BOCES, and welcome to our SWAP Online Agency Resource Guide. Today I'm here with Executive Director and co-owner of Common Roots, Tracy Brown. Hi, Tracy.
Hey, Tamara.
Can you tell us a little bit about Common Roots?
Yes, so Common Roots, as an agency, we've been around in our Pikes Peak community for over 30 years. We provide supports to adults with disabilities um, in three main areas: residential program, employment program, and SCC day program.
What is SCC Day Program?
SCC is Supported Community Connections. So that is a day program that's not facility based. It's really just about integrating individuals into the community to have learning opportunities, maybe some volunteer opportunities, and interactions both with their peers and other community members.
Excellent. Thank you. Can you tell us about what specific age group and population you serve?
Absolutely. So our agency specifically serves adults, so individuals 18 and over. Primarily, we focus on individuals with with intellectual and developmental disabilities. However, in our employment services, it's a little more open to different disabilities as well as just the IDD.
Okay, awesome. Can you tell us about the benefits a client could receive from your program?
Yes, so in our residential program, really that is a basis of you either are in a host home setting, so that's kind of similar to like adult foster care where you live with the family and they oversee your daily support needs, or a family caregiver, which is you maybe want to stay living with your parents. Um, Also, we provide supports to individuals in their own apartment setting. And the real basis for residential services is to just work on really building skills to improve individuals' independence in all of those different settings in the residential program. And we're just kind of overseeing your daily support needs. And then in employment services, our target is really finding meaningful community employment where we can really assist you with the whole process. So that might start with um, developing a resume, practicing interview skills, actually doing some work trial experiences because maybe you haven't actually worked at a job before and don't know exactly what you want to do. So we can kind of experiment a little bit with that. And then once you actually get placed, then it's we continue to follow you along. So once we actually help you to apply for those jobs, you get a placement at a community-based employment opportunity, then we just make sure that you are successful with onboarding at your new position and then following along. And our whole goal is to kind of ease out of those supports, but also continue to be there if you need us long term. And then for day program, I kind of briefly spoke about that. It's just about really making community connections, getting out in our great Colorado Springs community to find different resources and volunteer opportunities, and just really have an opportunity to interact, to get out of the home, be around your peers, and hopefully work on building some skills in education as well.
Thank you. Can you tell us what geographical areas you serve in southern and eastern plains of Colorado?
So primarily, Common Roots serves the Pikes Peak region, so Colorado Springs area. We have done some supports up in Teller County, and then we are approved to provide some supports up in the Denver area. But primarily, our focus is the Colorado Springs community.
Okay, and that includes like the eastern plains as well, like
It can. That's really just situational. I'm open to those conversations. It kind of depends on if we have the appropriate supports to provide to the individual that happens to be in that community.
Thank you so much. How does someone qualify for your services, and do you require any specific insurance?
So really, to qualify for services with Common Roots, you'd really want to make sure that you're set up with the resource exchange. If you aren't already, I would recommend calling and getting in touch with their enrollment department. it'll go through and kind of guide you through the initial setup process. Not everyone has to have TRE services that is receiving our employment services, but you do have to be set up with DVR.
Okay,
And
excellent.
then obviously most of those are funded through Medicaid for insurance requirements.
All right, thank you. And lastly, can you tell us what the application process is like and what are the steps from the start to becoming eligible for your services? I know you touched a bit on TRE, but I know there's some other things in the that go on there as well.
Yeah, so really it can be kind of a little bit of a long, frustrating process, but feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any specific questions. Really, it's just about getting in touch with TRE enrollment services, making sure that if you're set, there may be a wait list, but it's better to get a jump on those services, go through the initial enrollment process. We can also, once you're set up with TRE, they can also assist you with applying for Medicaid if you're not already set up with that. And then also kind of point you in the direction of who to contact with DVR to get those services as well. There are many other things that you can benefit. You could look for some public transportation options with Metro Mobility that wouldn't necessarily require that you be set up with TRE specifically, but that's kind of how you get the ball rolling, is to kind of go through that enrollment process, and then you kind of get more guidance through that.
Well, Miss Tracy Brown, thank you so much today for giving us information on the 30 plus years of the work that Common Roots has done in the Pikes Peak region. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Tam.